Now some questions. Some questions.
Yes, Holiness. Maybe let me borrow a mic without breaking it. We had kept a website open for folks to submit questions to His Holiness, and I hope we'll have time for a couple of them. The questions seem to break down in two categories, religious questions and political questions. The religious questions, I think the greatest group of questions there was about confusion of the role of Buddhism, the degree to which it is in conflict with or in harmony with other world religions. I think it was summed up, there's a very fine question by a 13-year-old. And he writes, "Your Holiness, I'm a 13-year-old boy from Carrollton, Georgia, that is a Methodist Christian believer. People I know think that I may be killing my relationship to God by coming to hear your teaching and your philosophy. What should I do?" he says.
Now, as I briefly touched in my talk, among the major different religious traditions, I think two aspects. The aspect of practice, an aspect of philosophy. In the practice field, all major religious traditions, same practice. That's why some of my Christian friends consider me as a good Christian. So therefore, you see, that really is, and then many Christian practitioners, and for example, many Christian monks and nuns, their way of life in their monastery or nunnery, almost exactly the same as Buddhist as monks and nuns. Very similar. One time I visit in southern France, on top of the mountain, one very isolated monastery there. They invited me. I went there. I noticed that monastery, 1,000-year-old monastery, their daily routine and way of life and simplicity is almost the same that Buddhist monastery. So at that time, I jokingly told them, in the past, we have no connection, no contact, but same practice. Why? Perhaps same source.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
So the practice is concerned, same, including Islam. Some my Islam friend told me, if you are a genuine Islam follower, should not create bloodshed on anyone. Anyone who creates bloodshed, actually, he or she not genuine Islam. And furthermore, one of my Islam clergy, she told me, Islam practitioner should extend love to entire creature as much you have love to fellow human being. Very similar, that is a Buddhist sort of attitude. So the practice is concerned, same. Now, philosophical field, there is big differences. Now, basically, theistic religion, non-theistic religion. But then, we must ask, what the purpose of these different philosophy? Then you get the answer, same purpose. in order to strengthen, in order to promote these basic human value, in order to bring enthusiasm to practice these things, the different philosophy, to some different philosophies, different approach. So then another question, why, since it's the same goal, same purpose, then what these differences is necessary? Then answer is, among the humanity, naturally different mental dispositions, right? Even within the same religious tradition, some sort of differences among them. Therefore, in various major religious traditions, within that tradition, sub-sects also you see there. And Buddhists also, the Buddha, our teacher taught his follower different philosophy, different concept. If you look on the surface, some of these sort of different sort of concept or philosophy are contradictory. Then I jokingly say, telling people, these contradictory philosophy come from one teacher, Buddha, should not be out of his own confusion. No, certainly, Buddha enlightened. No point confused mind. Nor he deliberately tried to confusion among his follower. No, certainly not. Then why he taught different contradictory philosophy? Why? Because among his follower, there are different people who have different mental disposition. Just the same philosophy will not satisfy the variety of people. So therefore, in the philosophical field, the differences, different approach is necessary because of the audience. Clear? So once we recognize this, then philosophical difference is not obstacle, same purpose and necessary. This one. So then, next question.
Yes. Thank you.
Here. Here, I think it is advisable to make distinction, faith and respect. Faith towards one's own tradition. Respect to all traditions. Now, I am Buddhist, one of the non-theistic religious tradition. However, since 1975, I practice a few different methods in order to promote religious harmony. One method is visit as a pilgrimage to different holy places. With this practice, I had pilgrimage Jerusalem, I think twice, and also like southern France, Lourdes, and Portugal, Fatima. So one of my experience at Fatima, one small Mary statue. In early morning, we spent a few moments there in silence meditation. Then when we leave, about to leave, we already, you see, the few steps already. Then I turned back to that Mary statue. Actually, that Mary statue smiling at me. I really felt, perhaps my eye something wrong. But I actually just saw smiling. So then at that moment, I really feel, since I practice compassion, forgiveness, these things, So Mary showing some kind of recognition or appreciation. I also, now very recent, I was in Vienna, one conference. So we live in one monastery, Benedictine monastery. As usually I do, when I leave temple or monastery, just before leaving, I usually go to chapel and showing respect. So, just before my leaving, I went one small chapel there, and in front of Jesus Christ statue, I stand for a moment, and I really feel much moved. This great master really brings hopes and inspirations to millions of people through many centuries. So I really feel deep sort of feeling. So I'm Buddhist. As far as philosophy is concerned, I may argue with Jesus Christ. But in practice, I fully appreciate his philosophy, his concept, really useful. So here you should make distinction, faith and respect. Then another thing, since now this is serious question, now here the concept of one religion, one truth, and the concept of several truth, several religion, these two things are now relevant. Now these two things contradictory. Now we have to solve this contradiction. How? In the terms of individual case, concept of one truth, one religion is very essential in order to keep one's own sort of strong faith. But then in terms of society, automatically, whether we like it or not, the concept of several truth, several religion is very relevant. So that's the source of the
So these two perspectives, one truth and one religion versus many truths and many religions, are really contextual. Their relevance is determined by the two different contexts, from individual to the society.
So it is really possible and really work. Really,
doable.
Some positive result already now coming as a result of effort of promotion of religious harmony. Now there are, of course, some hardliner thinkings within the religious believer, some hardliner thinkings also is naturally there, but meantime, many religious practitioners now having the concept of pluralism. For example, one is a clear example is India. Through centuries, any sort of religious follower there, they take for granted there are several religions, several truths already there. So that's already, we have that example. Now today's world, the information everywhere, very close. Very close. So I think India's model, we can copy other places. Then another thing, one point now I forget that point. No, sorry. I can't remember now. Yes, another question now. Yes.
Holiness, thank you for that wise discussion. On the more political front, perhaps.
Yes.
We are standing today in Centennial Olympic Park, which was dedicated upon the occasion of Atlanta being host to the International Olympic Games. What are your thoughts about those games now being hosted in Beijing?
When the discussion, the next venue of Olympic sort of the game, at that time, I expressed People's Republic of China, most populated nation and very ancient nation, and important role on this planet. Therefore, it is deserved to take the to host the Olympic game in China, in Peking. Because right from the beginning, I always emphasize that most populated nation should not isolate, must bring into the mainstream of world community. So that's my basic stand. And meantime, some NGOs as well as some individuals at that time raised the question, the poor record of human rights in China. That also we cannot sort of ignore. Unfortunately, still the poor record about human rights and also religious freedom and freedom of speech and free press. Still a lot of censorship. These are unhealthy things. I think, I'm quite sure the leadership eventually, I think, will improve these things, have to improve for their own interest. One more. Blessing? No.
There seems to be, from your presentation today and from our discussions and from what we know of you, much benefit to be gained from the intersection between Eastern and Western ways of knowing. Perhaps you could give us your thoughts on that and how we overcome barriers to make that happen more readily.
According to my own observation, Western science in the field of matter highly developed. But in the field of inner world, usually I call it inner world, human mind, human emotions, in that field, Western science still not adequate. Whereas ancient Indian tradition, Indian knowledge, I think it seems the more information about our inner world, detailed identification about different minds, different level of mind, different emotions. And particularly in the Buddhist tradition, there are quite rich information about our mind and its functions, its structure. So now last more than 20 years, I had some serious sort of dialogue with modern scientists, mainly in 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, physics and subatomic, including quantum physics, then psychology. In these
4 fields.
those the matter in external things, we Buddhists learned many new things from scientific findings. It's very, very helpful, very useful. Similarly, to the scientists in the field of mind or psychology, information of Buddhist psychology is very useful to them. So that already now become very clear. So therefore, close work, modern science, and usually I call Buddhist science, Buddhist inner science, I think joint effort really helpful to enrich our knowledge, not only external things, but also internal things. Then through that way, now as I mentioned earlier, now we are really facing some kind of crisis of mental crisis. So during such period, I think in order to tackle our emotions, I think some of the information which come from Eastern tradition, I think useful. So in any way, more research work is really worthwhile. Thank you.
Your Holiness, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Atlanta, thank you for your warm welcome to His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
So, thank you. Thank you. What is Jadas? Jadas?